Hello, everyone. How's it going? This is the Bald Metal Nerd coming at you with another lovely vid. I just recently did a video about my favorite album from the first 40 years of my life, and that list was completely dominated by metal, unsurprisingly, right? There were some non-metal albums on there, but it was mostly just wall-to-wall metal, right? So I figured I would do the same thing, but make a non-metal version of it, or let's be honest, a mostly non-metal version, because I actually rewatched that video of mine, and I took note of which years I chose a metal album and which ones I didn't. So basically, in this video, it's going to be in verse. Every year that I chose a metal album as my favorite album of the year, I chose a non-metal album. So, but for the years where I chose a non-metal album, on this one, it's a metal album. So essentially, that's how I decided to kind of inverse it. So there's some metal on this list, but it's mostly not metal. But to be fair, there's a shitload of hard rock on here because it's my second. Obviously, metal's my first love, and hard rock is my second major love. So unfortunately, there is some other stuff on here, and I hope you guys like it. And um, there's a lot of repeats of bands on this list. There's a few bands that you're going to see on here many times, but they're just some of my absolute favorite non-metal bands. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. So, like I mentioned before, I was born in 1978. So, 1978, the non-metal album of that year, my favorite, is Queen's Jazz. It's a great Queen record. I don't really know what else to say about it. Absolutely fantastic. Has some killer songs. So, 1979, I chose a non-metal album. I'm pretty sure I chose Pink Floyd's The Wall for my favorite album of 1979. So I went ahead and I was like, you know what? I'm going to choose a metal album for 1979. And I went with Motorhead's Overkill because it's fucking awesome. That was, my favorite metal album from 1979. There you go. All right. I'm glad Motorhead, I was finally able to show them, because unfortunately Saxon is a band I wasn't able to throw on this list because, well, whatever. It just didn't get. They are a band that would make the list, but unfortunately, just whatever. There's no opportunity for them to make this list, I don't think. Okay, so moving on. 1980, my favorite non-metal album is This was a pretty easy choice. Back in Black. And absolutely, I mean, probably this and Highway to Hell are my two favorite AC/DC albums. Period. But yeah, absolutely phenomenal, killer record. 1981, I actually had a hard time choosing, because I'm not, I actually had to, because I didn't have a lot of non-metal in my collection. So I was like, for that year. So I was like, well, let's look at just some of the best rock albums, right? So I pulled up this list here, and what I came up with, because it had to be non-metal, because there's some albums on here that would definitely make a list of awesome albums from 81. So I just ended up choosing, because like I said, my own personal rule, non-metal, I just chose AC/DC. For those about to rock, we salute you. Because it's, to me, in my opinion, it's the best non-metal release on this list. So there you go. Again, unfortunately, they didn't have a, I couldn't choose them because couldn't choose metal. Moving on. All right. So 1982, what else was it going to be but Thriller? I mean, come on. All right. Thriller is probably the best pop album ever made, period. Just, again, this is personal opinion, of course. It's an absolute masterpiece. I don't need to go on and on about Thriller. 1983, ZZ Top's Eliminator topped that year for me for non-metal. And it's absolutely a killer record. Absolutely love it. I don't know what to say about it, except my legs are getting a little tired, I guess. All right, I'll stop. All right. Okay, so for 1984, I chose The Cars' Heartbeat City. I know that's a left field choice for me, but I just really like that kind of 80s pop rock done on this. I think it's extremely well executed. There's just something about this album that I really, really like. Just my favorite non-metal release from that year. Moving on to 1985 is Weird Al's, probably first of many appearances on here. Dare to Be Stupid, because, well, it's Weird Al, and I love the hell out of Weird Al. 1986 was a pretty easy choice, because I feel this album, well, for one, it's definitely my favorite Beastie Boys album. License to Ill. It's just an absolutely fabulous, fantastic album that I would say has huge crossover appeal. I'm primarily, obviously, a metal and rock fan, and I love the hell out of this, right? Absolutely fantastic release from 1986. So, 1987, I chose Appetite for Destruction, I remember in the original video. And that's not technically metal, so it's hard rock. So I was like, I could choose a metal album, and in 87, it was definitely Among the Living by Anthrax. That is obviously, is it my favorite Anthrax album? It's one of them. It's hard to pick a favorite among my, at least my favorite classic Joey Belladonna era albums are Spreading the Disease, Among the Living, and Persistence of Time. So I think I love those all pretty equally. But anyway, whatever. Moving on. So we're up to 1988. This band's on here a bunch too. Bad Religion, Suffer. Great album. 1989. These guys make a few appearances, unsurprisingly. Nine Inch Nails' Pretty Hate Machine. Absolutely a fantastic piece of work. I love it beyond belief. Okay, so moving on to 1990, we got Depeche Mode's Violator. An absolutely great, Depeche Mode release. Lots and lots of great songs on that. Just an absolutely wonderful release. After that, we got 1990. I think we're up to 91. I think at this point, is that when Bad Motorfinger? We'll say 1991. Bad Motorfinger by Soundgarden. I mean, absolutely stomping hard rock album. Absolutely fantastic. What can I say about it? Who cares, right? Next year, 92, Faith No More's Angel Dust. It's Faith No More. They're amazing. They're great. They're fantastic. I don't really know what else to say about them. Definitely my favorite non-metal album of that year. And then, oh, look at this. We got another Depeche Mode album in 1993. Songs of Faith and Devotion. Absolutely awesome. Killer album. Then after that, 94. I must have picked a non-metal album for 94. I don't remember what. But I chose Corrosion of Conformity's Deliverance for 94. I guess this was my metal pick for that year. Corrosion of Conformity, I feel, was one of the most underrated bands back in that era. They're getting some love now, but they should have gotten a lot more love back in the 90s, in my opinion, than what they got. So, anyway, moving on. 95. Talk about a band that's going to dominate this list from here on out. Monster Magnet, Dopes to Infinity. Again, I've heaped so much praise on Monster Magnet, and this is really where, in my opinion, their first insanely great album. I mean, yeah, they had a couple albums before this, but this was their first really just amazing album where everything just gelled for them, and they had that just amazing sound that they've been known for really ever since. And I feel that's a band that is criminally underrated. So moving on to 1996, we got Soundgarden's Down on the Upside, because, well, it's Soundgarden. I mean, they're gonna make this list. I don't know. I think I make it a couple more times. I guess we'll find out. I can't remember, honestly. So yeah, there you go. All right. 97. Faith No More's Album of the Year. Not tough, right? There you go. Ironic that I chose it as my non-metal album of the year, right? Yeah. Okay. Moving on. I know the jokes are just flying quick in this one. 1998, I chose another one of my favorite Iron Maiden records. I chose Bruce Dickinson's The Chemical Wedding because I originally chose a non-metal release. So I was like, well, let's choose a metal release. And this is what I chose because, holy shit, is it an amazing album of just awesome progressive heavy metal with Bruce Dickinson singing. I don't know what else to say about it. All right. So that brings us, what, to 1999? 20 years ago. Jesus Christ. Just thinking 1999 is 20 years ago now. Fuck. Anyway, all right. So I chose Nine Inch Nails' The Fragile. Pretty amazing album. Don't know what else to say about. I dig it a lot. So there you go. Year 2000, Monster Magnet, God Says No. Another fantastic slab of hard rock from Monster Magnet. Totally ass kicking. All right, moving on. Year 2000, I chose Tenacious D's self-titled album. I don't know how well Jack Black was known at this time. Shit, I don't really know Jack Black's. Man, why not? Let's have a little bit of fun with this, right? Let's go ahead and let's just see what Jack Black's movie career is. Just real quick. This is a little sidetrack, I know, but we like sidetracks in this shit, right? Jack Black movies. So let's see how well he was known in fucking what year is this? 2000? Fuck, I already forgot. What year I was on. Okay. Early roles. Television commercial. Okay. So, all right. So 2000. So he was starting to become known then. Okay. So that was basically kind of the start for Jack Black. So anyway, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the year 2. Yeah. So there we go. All right, moving on. Yeah, let's just make sure I'm on the right year so I don't just keep yapping. Falconer. I'll just type Tenacious D's debut. When did that come out? Just so I can make sure I have my years right. This is great. No. Album. Oh, okay. Oh, 2001. Well, shit. All right, fine. I'm off by a year. Whoops. Whatever. This is true professionalism, guys. Okay, so anyway, I guess so. 2002, I would have chose Falconer, Chapters from a Veil Forlorn. Again, oh, that's right, because I chose Johnny Cash that year. So yeah, this is 2002. So I chose this as my favorite metal album of that year. I think Falconer is a really awesome power metal band that don't think gets enough love. They have fantastic musicianship, soaring vocals. Absolutely a band I think folks should check out. So I guess we're 2003 now. I chose King's X, Black Like Sunday. Yeah, I know they're a band that you could consider very close to metal, but you know, I really dig King's X. They're absolutely fantastic. I consider them like progressive hard rock, much more than metal. So again, I know, cheating a little bit, but what are you gonna do, right? Okay. So the following year, I chose American Idiot for 2004, just because I think that album had, for one, it's really good, and two, it actually had a pretty big impact on rock music that year. I would say this was, yeah, I mean, it absolutely huge record, absolutely great. So anyway, moving on. 2005, I chose Alice Cooper's Dirty Diamonds. And Alice Cooper has always kind of, with his sound, he's definitely floated between rock and metal. And Dirty Diamonds is definitely on more his classic hard rock sound than anything to do with metal. So there you go. I chose Dirty Diamonds. All right. 2006. I know it's a little, it's a soundtrack, yes. But the songs are so good for Tenacious D's The Pick of Destiny that it doesn't matter. It's a soundtrack. I mean, and it's all like Tenacious D's music. It's not like it's just like a fucking collection of bands that put. No, it's all Tenacious D, and it's an absolutely fantastic album. There's so many hilarious moments, and the musicianship is just top notch on it. So moving on from that. So I guess we're 2007 now. I chose Monster Magnet again, Four Way Diablo, another fantastic killer hard rock album from them. These guys at this point really can't miss, and there's a few more Monster. So let's move on. The next year, I chose Volbeat, Guitar Gangsters, and Cadillac Blood. You could almost call them a metal band. You could almost call this a metal record, but I still think it kind of falls in the hard rock side. So it's kind of, that was its saving grace. All right. Moving up, we got Muse, The Resistance. I really like the mixture on this rock and synth. It kind of reminds me a bit of that classic, like, how back in 1984 I listed the Cars' Heartbeat City. This is obviously very, 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 very different band, but in a way it kind of is like a much more modern version of that. I don't know. Whatever. I really like this album, hence there you go. Next year, I think, what was this, 2010 here we're on to? Yeah, 2010. Another Monster Magnet album. Shocker of shockers. Mastermind. So, there you go. All right. 2011, another Weird Al record. Alpocalypse. Absolutely great album by Weird Al. One of my favorites by him. So, there you go. Next up, we have what I consider, the last good Tenacious D album, and that is Rise of the Phoenix. Absolutely a great, another hilarious, jam-packed album. And I'm not a big fan of Apocalyptico because really it's just a collection of, there's very few like songs on it. It's mostly just random. It's just not that great. It was a huge disappointment for me from Tenacious D, but Rise of the Phoenix is absolutely great. So, moving on. What year is it? Let's see. I think we're 2013. I guess we're at this point. Second to last appearance of Monster Magnet on this. Last Patrol, an absolutely amazing album. This might be their best album of all time. I'm eventually going to have to do a ranking video for Monster Magnet. It's going to have to happen. This might be their best album. I'm not sure. I'll have to actually sit down and listen to their discography and figure that out. So, all right, moving on. 2014, Shocker Shocker is another Weird Al album. Mandatory fun. Love the hell out of this. It's just great. Whatever. I remember getting a lot of attention when it came out because when it came out, Weird Al made a video for literally every single song, and I think released a different video for it like every day or something like that. I don't know. I'm just going off memory of like, 5 years. Jesus. Time really flies by when you're getting old. Anyway, so there you go. Because it does not feel like it was that long ago that this came out, but it was a minute now. So, okay, so we're up to 2015, and this one I chose Hollywood Vampires debut album. It's really, Alice Cooper sings on it. It's got a few other guys. It's like a super group, and most super groups don't work out. Johnny Depp plays guitars in it, for God's sake, right? So you would honestly expect that to suck. It doesn't. It really doesn't. Hollywood Vampires is an absolutely fantastic album from that year. Killer hard rock album, just absolutely great. So, all right, moving on. And then next year we got Green Day again. Revolution Radio. I felt this was another great release by them. I think Green Day at this point, when they first were popular, I liked some of their stuff, but I thought they were a bit mediocre. But I really like the way Green Day has progressed as a band, right? I think they've come a long way from the 90s. So anyway, Revolution Radio. So, all right, 2017 was a non-metal year, apparently, because I chose another, this was my favorite metal release from that year, and I chose Pyramazes Contingent, and I feel that is another criminally underrated act. But what's interesting about Pyramazes is every album they have a different vocalist, which is different, but they have this absolutely killer sound, another fantastic symphonic power progressive metal thing, and if you're into that stuff, you definitely owe it to yourself to listen to Pyramazes. All right, and then lastly, 2018, Monster Magnet's Mindfucker. Again, Monster Magnet made the list. What a surprise, right? So that's pretty much it. I know in this one I had a ton of repeats of the same bands on here because the reason for that is because, as you guys are well aware, of metal is my favorite genre, right? And if I had, consciously made a decision to try to show off more different bands than what I did, I really would not have, this would not have been nearly as honest of a list, right? Because, yeah, there were definitely other bands I liked from those years that weren't Monster Magnet or Weird Al or Tenacious D or, yes, there were other things those years that I liked, but I didn't like them better than what I listed. So I was just completely honest with this list. When I did my original one, that was probably like, if I'm going to be honest, that was probably a 98% honest list because I did kind of consciously try not to just repeat the same bands over and over and over again. But with this, it would have felt like if I had done that with this list, I would have felt maybe this only would have been like a 60 to 65% honest list. And I didn't want to be that disingenuous with this list. So anyway, that's it. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. If you made it through this, thank you so much. That's it. Catch you guys next time. Live long and prosper.